You feel sick on a day-to-day. I myself has been a diabetic for 34 years. I got diabetes when I was 6 years old, type 1 diabetic. One thing is that if a person doesn't keep track of their blood sugar levels, they won't understand why they're not feeling well. One of the problems with consistent high blood sugars is that a depression sets in. Most people look at diabetes and depression as diabetics are more depressed. But you don't really know if it's the depression or it's the side effects of having high blood sugar levels. Those high blood sugar levels can mimic a depression, giving a person blunt affect, a lack of energy and desire. Some people can't get out of bed in the morning because their blood sugars are consistently high. I've seen in my practice people have actually used cocaine so they could get out every morning to get past their blood sugar levels. When those high blood sugars are there, there's a very good chance that erectile dysfunction will be right there with it. As anyone who cooks know, if you add sugar to something, it thickens up. And essentially, one of the basic facts that happens is the more sugar that's in the blood, the harder it is to pump through the blood system. There's less oxygen to the brain, and what is getting to the brain is drowned in sugar and creates a huge imbalance, creating a cognitive pool of jello. One example I use every now and then is if Phelps was in a pool of jello and everybody else was in a regular pool, how well would he have done? Would he have won a single gold medal? One of the main pieces that comes with this is that it's important to recognize that when someone's with you and they're in front of you and they're telling you that they're having all these problems, what are their blood sugars right there and then? 90% of the times when a client comes in, I'll have them check their blood sugar levels, so I can see what I have to work with in front of me. Because if I give them all this information verbally and they walk out the door, their retention is gone. They're not going to remember it. Their ability to reach in and tell me what's wrong with them is also hindered because the recall is distorted. With all these things that are going on, with persons just in front of us, just trying to say, hey, I'm having problems in this area, when we bring it back to erectile dysfunction, the piece that is really important is that when this does happen to a diabetic or anybody who has erectile dysfunction, it's best to talk about it in the moment. So many people keep it to themselves. They feel bad. They start apologizing excessively. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The more sympathetic and the more she's there for you to support you, and the more she says, how may I support you? What can I do for you? How can I help you? The more a man will feel more secure in that it's not the end of the world. Working as a team with your significant other is very important with erectile dysfunction because you don't know what's necessarily going on. Erectile dysfunction can come from the diabetes, or it can come from you had a bad day at work and you're obsessing about what's happened at work. One of the biggest things about sexuality and intimacy is that we have to be there in the moment. If we're not there in the moment and our mind's somewhere else, then the other parts of our body aren't going to react. Because as a good doctor had said, that our mind is our biggest sexual organ. That's where everything comes from. That's where our desire and our urges come from. And that's where the depression, anxiety, and other psychiatric illnesses will hinder a person's ability. A lot of people go right to their doctor and get put right on Viagra. I don't think that's necessarily always the best move, because we need to rule out, are their blood sugars taking into account? Because those blood sugars may be the answer. You get someone, their diabetes in control, you might find that a lot of the symptomatology and a lot of the illnesses they have start reducing and disappear altogether. In the story, when John was upset, the first time he didn't do anything about it. He didn't check his blood sugar. But what's important is, would have been very important, not only in the moment said, oh, I think there's something wrong, I apologize, wait, I gotta go check my blood sugar, let me go see if that's impacting me. A lot of people don't do that in the moment. And everything is very important in the moment. Otherwise, both partners go off in feeling guilty or sad or upset in one way or another. The more we reduce those negative feelings on the way out, the healthier the relationship's going to become. Anything that isn't said in the moment when a person feels it becomes that white elephant in the room. It's there, it haunts the relationship, little things happen and it sets people off. Even though it has nothing to do with what's in the moment, but something that's keeping them down or agitated by little things. When in actuality, it's a bigger issue like erectile dysfunction. The normal blood sugar levels for a diabetic would be between 80 and 120, 140 are good ranges. Some doctors push it all the way down to 70 and want you to be between 70 and 120. I always encourage my clients to not so close to that line that they're going to go into a hypoglycemic reaction, because there's not much difference in long term from being at 120 or 140 consistently. It's when you start getting up into those higher levels of 200, 300 that you're going to see the long-term effects, and you're going to see these complications occur. It's very important that when you're working with a diabetic, that you make sure one of the things they do is check their blood sugars often. If they know that their blood sugar is high, then they can say, oh, wait a second, let me stop this. Before we go any further, how about we just cuddle for a while instead of going right to foreplay. And that'll allow some adjustment time and time for the couple to also get intimacy. A lot of times people jump too quickly and they don't get the intimate moment. Men have been taught that is like one of the most primary important things is our sexual prowess. The problem with that thinking is that rising to the occasion can be simply a physical issue and you have no control over that. So some people who have the real physical issues going on, they can't control that. They have no responsibility for that. If their blood sugars are high, diabetes is such a hard disease that our patients need to give themselves a break. A couple high blood sugars isn't going to make a difference overall. A couple low blood sugars, a couple reactions isn't going to change the world. It's when they're totally disregarding their diabetes and their blood sugars remain high.